Ever since Chevrolet brought the Camaro name back to the States, it's been putting up quite a fight against arch rival Ford for sales supremacy in this segment. Now, the current Camaro debuted last year, and when I drove the SS model, I was really impressed. I mean, this chassis of Camaro has gone so far as to win Car of the Year from Motor Trend for 2016. So what about the base 2-liter turbo engine? Well, this week, Chevrolet has sent me over an RS equipped with that base motor. Is it worth a look versus its more potent V6 and even more crazy V8 models? Let's take a look and find out. Last year, when Chevrolet sent over an SS for me to drive for the week, I was pretty much blown away. I never really was a fan of the previous 5th generation Camaro. I always hated the fact that you couldn't see out of these things, and to be honest, I always preferred the Ford Mustang. However, when I first drove this 6th generation, it quickly changed my perception of Camaros. That V8 model was simply stunning. It was fast, it sounded great, it handled even better, and that was one of the reasons why I was quick to proclaim the Camaro to be my favorite of all the American muscle cars. So what about the other engine options? As you know, Chevrolet offers the Camaro in several different configurations. This week, the company has sent me over a 2LT equipped with the RS Sport package and the base 2-liter turbo engine. There's 3 motors you can choose from. For the mortal Camaros, there's the 2-liter turbo, a 3.6-liter V6, which is like $2,000 extra, or the wonderful 6.2-liter LT1 direct injection V8, which of course is the motor that I would go for. So what about those of you who don't necessarily need the V8 or want to spend the extra money for the 6? Well, you can see the design of this current 6th generation Camaro is still a showstopper. It was an evolutionary change versus the previous 5th generation, which honestly, it didn't really need to change too much. This is an incredibly good looking car. I love the standard LED daytime running lights. My tester with the RS package has optional bi-Xenon headlights, and they do look a lot better. I would highly recommend going for the Xenon option as opposed to the projector headlight, the projector halogens you get on the baser models. Now you can see this rides on the all-new Alpha platform versus the old Sigma platform of the previous generation, or Zeta platform, I'm sorry, and this platform is just world-class. It's totally transformed the Camaro into a sports car as opposed to a muscle car, and they also, because they switched this platform, this new generation Camaro lost about 200 pounds in the redesign. This 4-cylinder model that I'm showing you weighs about 3,300 pounds, which is pretty damn light by muscle car standards. Now, looking around the sides, you can see these 20-inch wheels are part of the RS package. They are gorgeous. They're wrapped in 245s up front, 275s at the rear. Really nice tires that fill out the wheel wells nicely. And out back, my tester has like a lighting and convenience package that also adds LED taillights. They look great. There's a subtle rear lip spoiler. It doesn't have that nice wing type spoiler that the SS gives you, but I mean, overall, the dual outlet exhausts look good. If you guys go for the V6 or the V8 models with the performance exhaust, you'll get a quad outlet, which definitely looks a lot better than the dual. But overall, I think the design of the Camaro for me still turns a lot of heads. I haven't really had a chance to see too many of the 2018 Mustangs out on the road, but currently right now, I think my favorite in terms of design is definitely going to go to the Chevrolet. It'll be interesting to see how GM plans to update this design in the coming years. Maybe some LED headlights as opposed to the, the HIDs, which are getting a little bit old. But enough about the exterior. Let's take a look at the inside and see if Chevy made any changes for the 2017 model year. Most models of the Camaro will come standard with the company's smart key access system with push-button start. Here's the newer Chevrolet key fob. It looks good, it feels good in your hands. To activate the remote start, just push the lock button once, push and hold this button, and that starts up the car for you. To shut the car off, just push and hold this button again, and that will shut off the car for you. Now, first approaching your Camaro, you can see there is a button on the door handle. To lock the car, just touch the button. That locks the car for you. To unlock it, there is no sensor on the back of the handle. You actually have to touch the button again, and that will unlock the car for you. Now, looking at the inside of the 2017 Camaro. You can see it hasn't changed versus the 2016 that I showed you. This is the tire trim 2LT with the leather. It's got heated and cooled seats because it's a 2LT. Really like the flat bottom steering wheel. This particular one, of course, this year being the 50th anniversary, you're going to have that 50th badge at the bottom of the steering wheel. But overall, the inside, of course, is still very cave-like. It's got really tiny windshield, really small side mirrors, so you're going to have to get used to that, of course, if you decide to go for this car. Now, stepping inside, the Camaro is not an easy car to get in and out of. That low roof definitely cuts into your headroom, and it's got a pretty small opening. You kind of have to duck your way to get into this vehicle. And shutting the door sounds okay when it shuts. I mean, this is a newer Alpha platform, of course, but it definitely has that two-door sound when you shut the door. But to start the vehicle up, just put your foot on the brake and then push the oddly shaped button here to start up the engine. And of course, this is not the motor that I would prefer in this car, but this is the base 2-liter turbocharged engine. It definitely makes very unpleasant noises considering this is a Camaro. I really think that I would probably go for at least the 6-cylinder just because this is a Camaro. I don't like the whiny noises that the 4-cylinder is making. But again, for some of you that may not matter. Enthusiasts, you're probably going to think it's a little bit annoying. Now, looking at the rest of the interior here, you can see Chevrolet really upped the interior quality of this car for this 6th generation. Really good materials. There's genuine aluminum trim splashed throughout the cabin and on the steering wheel and on the vents and such. The dashboard is comprised of a nice, soft leather stitched area here with some contrasting stitching. This upper portion of the dash is hard touch plastic, but everything in here fits together nicely. Really like the new Chevrolet Mylink display that has that tablet style look with nice buttons and knobs. The door panels here are hard touch plastic on this portion, but it's nice and soft padded here where you would put your elbows, so Chevrolet was thinking there. Down here it's nice and soft padded. There's a nice area here where you can put your phone, and the windows are one touch automatic down for both the front or the driver and the front passenger, which is nice. My tester has memory seats with 2-person because it has the upgraded interior convenience and lighting package. And I really love the steering wheel. It's a flat bottom. It's got really nice stitching, great bolstering. It's got paddle shifters here for the 8-speed automatic. Really upscale looking steering wheel for sure. Also really like the gauges. They're the traditional Chevrolet gauges with the helper LCD in the center. And when you look over here on the center stack, this is the latest version of Chevrolet Mylink. When you go to the home page here, of course, you're going to find all your usual sources. Audio, phone, projection is Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. I believe the 2016 model that I showed you had it. I'd have to double check. My tester doesn't have the nav option. Instead, you would have navigation via OnStar. If you'd call the OnStar person, they'll kind of send navigation and routes and stuff here. It's like $500 if you guys want the nav option. This little button here allows you to change the lighting strips in this car on the interior at night, either link it to the drive mode or you can just change the colors individually, which is always nice. But I mean, overall, the touch response of Chevrolet Mylink is great. It's one of the quicker in the industry. It works better than a lot of the older Cadillac Q, although the new version of Cadillac Q that I showed you guys in the CTS V Sport pretty much works at the same speed as this. Love the fact that Chevy included, lots of traditional buttons here. It's an interesting design. There are cooled and heated seats on my tester because it's a 2LT. I also love the vents over here because to adjust the climate control, you actually turn this little portion here in the vent, which is a really cool design touch. I imagine a lot of other manufacturers may start copying this for years to come, although it does make the vents a little bit low. You always have to kind of point it up if you actually want the air shooting at your face. Now, this controls the 8-speed automatic transmission. Not my ideal transmission choice. However, the 8-speed in the SS was great. When you pair it with this 2-liter 4-cylinder, it can be a little bit sluggish feeling, but when you put the vehicle into reverse, Chevy gives you a standard backup camera that is necessary considering the fact that you can't see anything out of this car. The blind spot monitoring is also optional. You definitely want to go for that option. It's part of that convenience and lighting package for $2,800. Again, another necessity for this car. Looking down here, you have electronic parking brake, and then this controls your drive modes here for the drive mode selector. There's 3 modes. There's snow, ice, there's touring, and then there's sport. For the majority of my drive, I left it in sport. It definitely feels the best in this type of a car. And then you have these little tiny cup holders here. Not too much storage right here. I found I could put some things here, but they would kind of slide up. There is a decent sized storage area here, although the lid kind of isn't damped. It just kind of cheaply falls back and forth, which is annoying. And then there's nice leather padding here, and then a wireless charging port here as part of the 2LT package, although it is kind of buried all the way back here, so you can't really see or access your phone that well while you're driving. Kind of a problem. Looking over here, the glove glove compartment is damped. It's not lined with felt, but it's a good size, which is necessary considering there's not much storage space in this car. My Tester doesn't have a sunroof. It would be nice. It would brighten up the cabin. It's a $900 option, but it would probably eat into the headroom a little bit more, which is pretty tight. The seats are really comfortable though. Love the seats. They're not the Recaros that I showed you guys, I think, in the SS model, but they're really great for daily driving. They hold you in place. The leather feels good. Love the heated and cooled function. But overall, if you guys can get used to the crappy visibility in here, the interior is definitely a showstopper. It'll impress a lot of people, and it's filled with great materials and great technology. Now, the back seat in the Camaro is pretty damn useless. To fold the front seat forward here, you actually pull this lever, and it doesn't actually move the seat forward, which is kind of annoying. You have to actually use this little button here because it's a power seat and move it forward. And you can see I'm not going to sit back here because I'm telling you it seriously sucks. There's literally no headroom, but that's as far forward as it goes. You have to kind of jump over this seat belt right here if you're going to try to get in and out of the vehicle. And really you only want to put people you don't like in the back seat, or people with no legs, because there's no room back here. The trunk capacity of the Camaro is also really, really paltry. You're looking at around 9 cubic feet of space with this super tiny opening. So again, if you were looking for more practicality, go for the Mustang or the Challenger. That gives you the most trunk space. Underneath the floor here, there is no spare. It just has like a fix-a-flat kit, I believe, or maybe this car comes with run flats. The seats back there, surprisingly, they look like they fold. Yes, they do fold down in one piece, so you can do that. Because the back seats are useless, I would just leave them fold down and just put stuff back there, honestly. Underneath the hood of this Camaro, you can see there is plenty of room in here for a V6 or a V8. This is the base 2-liter turbocharged direct injection 4-cylinder, the same motor that we know in the Cadillac ATS and CTS. Now, it does have direct injection, variable valve timing, and this application, it puts out pretty good numbers, 275 horsepower, and actually more torque than the 6-cylinder, 295 pound-feet of torque. Now, of course, this one is the fuel economy leader. It's rated at 22 in the city, 31 on the highway on premium gas. A Camaro is only available in rear drive. You can get this between a 6-speed manual or a 8-speed automatic transmission like my Tesla. This car is also the lightest. It weighs about 3,300 pounds. Let's get out on the road and see how it all works, shall we? So I will be the first to admit that I was pretty spoiled last year when I had the V8 Camaro. However, I'm keeping an open mind with this 4-cylinder turbo because it is like 200 pounds lighter, and most of that weight is coming off the front end. So maybe it won't be as bad. It should definitely handle better because of that less weight. Still love the way the Alpha platform drives, but let's get out on the road and see how this 4-cylinder actually feels in the real world. All right, so I will admit that the 4-cylinder pulls pretty well. It's got more torque than the 6-cylinder, but not more than the V8. And then when you put your foot down, it's got really strong mid-range torque, which is what you expect, with something that produces 295 foot-pounds of torque. The transmission itself, it could be a little bit quicker shifting, especially when I'm putting my foot down. You can hear it with the paddles and whatnot. It doesn't make really great noises. Sometimes when it will shift at a higher RPM, I think it sounds okay. Wouldn't let me go to first there. Shift denied, okay. Let's see if it'll let me go to first. There we go. Holy crap. The chassis of this car still grips for days. It's amazing what GM has done with this Alpha platform. The steering is just incredibly quick and precise. Check this out. You didn't think a Camaro would handle this well. I definitely feel the fact that this has less weight versus the 8-cylinder. It's just the 4-cylinder itself. It really makes some either really disgustingly unpleasant noises, or it makes a decent bark when it shifts at a higher RPM. But really, I'll put it back into its just regular drive mode here. and just kind of cruise along. The Camaro is a pretty good daily driver if you can get used to the horrible visibility in here. You can see here, driving down the road, I can't really see much. The hood is really tall. You've got this really skinny, small windshield. It's like a mail slot, and you have these tiny side mirrors, which, by the way, my tester has the blind spot with your cross traffic alert. Thank God it has that, because honestly, when I'm changing lanes in this thing, I'm literally like guessing, hoping that there's nobody next to me sometimes, because when you turn your head, you have this huge pillar right there, so you can't really see much. But the ride quality in this car is something I do want to talk about, because the V8 model that I had the magnetic rheological dampers. This one doesn't. It has the standard suspension, and I noticed that on smooth pavement it's all right, but when it gets a little bit nasty, you feel the bumps pretty well. These are 20-inch wheels. They're very low profile tires, so of course you're going to be dealing with a rather firm ride if you live in crappy pavement all the time. I switched off the traction control there, and this car will spin its back tires okay, and it will do a burnout if you guys are, going to be using the throttle and the brake at the same time. So, I mean, overall, in terms of the speed, the 4-cylinder turbo can be a little bit laggy. Off the line, I noticed it's a little bit slow. It doesn't have enough power to break the tires loose when you first floor it, but then once the turbo kicks in, you feel that torque, almost 300 pound-feet, then it actually starts spinning the tires, and you feel that rush of acceleration, just the sound. The sound I can't get past, because this is a Camaro. I really got spoiled with the V8. The V6 even sounds pretty damn good when you get the optional performance exhaust. I'm not surprised Chevy didn't offer the performance exhaust on this car, because the 4-cylinder just doesn't sound good, which is a shame, because there are 4-cylinder turbos that actually do sound good. I think it was somewhat of a missed opportunity here for Chevy. They're kind of keeping this engine at the bottom of the barrel versus Ford, where they charge you extra for the EcoBoost Mustang, which still honestly doesn't sound all that great. But I mean, overall, the 4-cylinder turbo, for me, for an enthusiast, I would probably leave it for the engine that you'd rent. I'd go for the 6 with the 1LE package and whatnot, if you guys are actually an enthusiast and plan to track this car. And the transmission will go back and forth between a performance shift mode whenever you have your foot all the way to the floor. And even though there's not much test data for this 4-cylinder, I expect 0 to 60 times around the 6-second range, which honestly is fast enough for those of you who are just looking for the look of this car, without the gas guzzling or insurance premium that you're going to deal with the 8-cylinder motor. But again, I would go for the 6 at least. If you can't afford the 8, it's a worthy upgrade to go for that $2,000. Now let's talk a little bit about the fuel economy, because if you want the Turbo 4, you're going to get a little bit better gas mileage. And I've actually been averaging around 21 miles per gallon in mostly mixed driving with my foot to the floor like that, which is not bad. This car is rated at 22.31. On the highway, I was actually able to get about 34 miles per gallon at best, which is pretty stellar efficiency compared to the V8 Camaro that I had for a week, which guzzled gas at an alarming rate. This has definitely been a much more easier car on the wallet in terms of filling up. So again, that's a reason why you may want to go for the 4-cylinder turbo if those interesting noises out of the back don't bother you as much as they bother me. Now let's talk a little bit about the actual pricing of this car, because the Camaro starts at under $26,000, like $25,900, right in between a Mustang, which is like $25,000, or a Challenger, which is like $26,900, $27,000 basically. Now, my tester, being the 2LT, obviously has quite a few upgrades on it. It starts at $31,400, but you get a lot of things on it. My tester has several options. The RS package is $2,000. That's kind of a no-brainer. I would definitely go for that. The convenience and lighting package is like $2,800. That's a little bit of a more expensive proposition, but you need the blind spot monitoring. You need the cross traffic alert. So again, I would probably go for that. The automatic transmission is like $1,500. I would probably skip it and go with the 6-speed manual and save myself that money. But when you tally it all up, my tester stickers for around $37,500, which is definitely a good amount of money. A lot cheaper than the V8. The V8 Camaro I had last year was like $10,000 more, but this does make it a little bit more expensive than a comparably equipped Mustang. And keep in mind, my Camaro is missing a few options still, and if you go for the V6 model, it's another $2,000 on top of that. So you can easily spend, almost 40 grand or a little over 40 grand if you guys don't even go for a V8 Camaro, whereas the V8s are approaching almost $50,000. So again, sticker shock, but the new Camaro's chassis is world class. It's got a nice looking interior if you can deal with the visibility, and the styling of this car seriously just turns heads. Even though I've got the 4-cylinder turbo, lots of people in their Mustangs, their Challengers, their Subarus, their Focus STs, their SIs were still trying to race me when I was out on the road because I'm in a bright red Camaro. But anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview of this 2017 Chevrolet Camaro 2.0T RS. If you're in the market for a muscle car but want mostly a sports car with the muscle car look, the Camaro is definitely the one you want to check out. Just be sure that you test drive it with the V6 and the V8 options first if you guys are actually planning to do any serious track work with this car. But if you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all in the next video.